super friends, and welcome to DC TV Talk, and in today's episode we're going to be breaking down and reviewing Arrow Season 7 Episode 4, otherwise entitled Level 2. And before you proceed with this review, make sure you've seen this episode because it's going to be filled with spoilers. Wow, so I mean, Arrow just keeps on getting better and better and better this season, and I honestly believe that this is the best episode this season. And I'm going to go through just kind of, all the most important parts. So one thing I'll start off with is the stuff with Laurel and Felicity in this episode, which I found to be particularly fun. I think Laurel might actually be one of my favourite characters in this episode because she actually had some really good interactions with Felicity. The scenes between her and Felicity were really fun, really dynamic, because these two actresses we haven't really seen act together in quite some time, and especially we've never seen really that many scenes between Felicity and Black Siren. Obviously we've had Felicity and Laurel when it was Earth 1 Laurel, but this is obviously Earth 2 Laurel, so we haven't really had any scenes with them together for quite some time, so it was really nice to have that, and their dynamic was actually a fun one to play with. And I really like the scenes where, Black Siren is like, you need to be ruthless. Are you prepared to be ruthless? Because they are basically holding the Silencer hostage. And I really like their whole dynamic there. It was really fun, something different to play with, something that, we weren't necessarily used to. And I really like that. I think their dynamic worked well. And also we got quite a lot of backstory. Well, not a lot of backstory, but a little bit of development with Laurel, because she was talking about, how she lost her father on her Earth, and also how she lost Ollie and things like that. Really good stuff. And, she was saying about how she loved her Ollie and things like that. I think that was a really good, a little bit of tasters of her backstory, because, we're still waiting on that flashback episode. Katie Cassidy has said we're going to be getting it for the past 2 seasons now, and we still have not received it. Still waiting on that one, Katie, but I will be patient. But also, one thing that's really interesting is that she says that Felicity is actually like this big business person, like she's this big business enterprise owner on Earth 2, so that's quite interesting as well. We actually get a little bit of information of Felicity on Earth 2, and I like that. A little bit, I find the multiverse so interesting, so to see these little hints of what Earth 2 characters are like is really fun. But like I say, just the dynamic between Felicity and Laurel in this episode was really well handled, really well written, and like I say, I think Laurel was one of the best characters in this episode. I really enjoyed her presence, and Felicity wasn't actually annoying or over the top. I mean, there was a couple of scenes where she was overacting a little bit, but I'll give it a pass because of the way she was using it in order to distract the Silencer. I'll give it a pass for that. But she was nowhere near as bad as she was last episode, or especially in episode 2. It's not quite to that extreme, so I was very happy and pleased to see that. And yeah, it was really nice just to have these 2 scenes, and just have these 2 characters in these scenes, this dynamic. I really enjoyed it. Now, one of the other main storylines going on in the sort of main storyline is with Renee and Dinah. Renee obviously is kind of involved. He's trying to get back into the vigilante game, but he can't really do it because of the immunity deal. Dinah's on his arse the entire time, so he can't really delve into it as much as he'd like to. But what I really like about this storyline in particular was that, basically Renee almost felt forced to jump back into it, because he had his community center get attacked by an arsonist. A group of arsonists attacked his community center, ended up injuring Zoe, who is of course his daughter. That will come into play later on. And this was a really interesting way to bring Renee back into it, because when basically his building's going up in flames, Dinah is there on the scene as well, and Zoe's trapped inside a room, and it's the new Green Arrow who reappears in this episode, who I'll get onto a little bit later as well. It's the new Green Arrow who actually shows up and rescues her, and Renee's like, look, this guy's a hero, he saved my daughter's life, and I know that it's your job to capture this guy, blah blah blah, but look, he is a hero. And yeah, we don't know who this guy is, we can't trust him fully, he's not Oliver, but he's still a hero, he's doing good things, and this was a good setup. And obviously Dinah just kind of give him a warning, I've warned you once about going out as a vigilante, don't do it again. Now, this leads into something very interesting, where Renee actually does go out to try and basically find these arsonists, and he comes across the new Green Arrow. He actually comes across the new Green Arrow. They come face to face. They have a bit of an exchange, a bit of dialogue, and this is where Dinah comes in. And while the Green Arrow actually gets away, thanks to Renee, Renee actually gets arrested. Dinah actually arrests Renee, and I have to say, I didn't see that coming. And although it is, again, they're kind of putting Dinah in a bit of a weird place this season. I'm not quite sure if I like what they're doing with Dinah 100%. Actually, her arresting Renee was a ballsy move, and I'm actually quite pleased they did it, because although I didn't see it coming, and it's not exactly greatest for Dinah's character going forward, I did appreciate the fact that they took that decision, especially because it comes back into play a bit later on. And given what they're doing with Dinah's character, that also comes into play later on, which I'll get to. So I really actually enjoyed the fact that they arrested Renee in this episode. I thought that was quite fun. And obviously this kind of comes back when, he got intel from the new Green Arrow, which linked back to the arsonist, and they were able to capture the arsonist and find them. And I like the fact that, you know, she was like, look, Renee, I'm going to work with you, but you have to do it under my rules. You know, I guess you're right in the sense that sometimes we have to bend the rules. We have to work with vigilantes in order to get the job done, which, you know, following in Quinton's footsteps in that sense. And, you know, they do work together. The new Green Arrow shows up, and they were able to go on this awesome fight and actually take down these arsonists. And it was kind of like the only bit of action we really got. And, yeah, it was quite nice to actually have all that. And, you know, a few more teasers with the new Green Arrow. And I think that was really fun. And just this overall storyline, this dynamic between Renee and Dinah gave him quite a lot of development, quite a lot of, you know, nice moments to play with. And I enjoyed that. Also, while Zoe is in hospital, we do get the first Arrow cameo of Bebo. He does appear in this episode. Bebo also appeared in Supergirl this week. I don't know if I mentioned that in my review last night or not. But yeah, Bebo has now been in pretty much, I think he's been in every single Arrowverse show. So Bebo is definitely making the rounds. Now, Oliver's stuff in prison was very fun and very interesting because Oliver actually goes through a very interesting episode because he is basically locked in one room in level 2 by himself being studied by a psychiatrist, and he comes in, he's asking him all these different questions, and Oliver, obviously being the stubborn guy that he is, doesn't give him anything. And then they actually inject him with what is, to use a phrase from Ant-Man and the Wasp, they inject truth serum into his bloodstream in order to basically make him a lot more receptive. And this is where they actually start talking to him, and he starts revealing some stuff. And we actually get flashbacks to the pilot, which I didn't expect. We actually get to see, you know, James Sheridan back as Robert Queen. We see him on the Gambit and then onto the life raft where, you know, obviously he shoots the bodyguard, he shoots himself in order to save Oliver's life. And it was really interesting. I didn't expect callbacks to this. I didn't expect us to come back to this point in Arrow's history, especially in Season 7. We kind of left all that behind in Season 5, and I kind of thought we weren't really going to come back to that in any meaningful way. But the fact we actually got it here was really cool. And I have to say, Stephen Amell's performance throughout this entire episode was fantastic. He really did some fantastic moments and really good emotional beats, especially when you look at the scene between Oliver and William, because there actually is a scene where they basically replay it in Oliver's head, where they're saying, look, you're taking on your father's actions, William will eventually take on yours because of what you're doing. You know, your father left the sins onto you, your sins will be left onto William. And there's basically the scene that plays out where Oliver is on the life raft with William, and we actually get to see that, you know, he actually kills himself for William. Really good scene, really awesome. Again, didn't expect it at all, completely out of the blue, but I absolutely loved it. I thought it was a great moment. And again, Stephen Amell's acting was absolutely top-notch, and he really delivered it, he really sold it. There wasn't actually too much Oliver in this episode in comparison to the first 3 episodes. Like, the prison stuff wasn't as much as there has been, but I think this was still one of the most interesting things in the episode, was seeing Oliver in prison, stuck in this one room. This is obviously that episode Stephen Amell was talking about, where he was saying that Oliver was stuck in one room. This is obviously what he was talking about. But seeing him having to deal with his past again and having to, you know, actually realize what he's doing and what he did for his father could actually happen to William. And again, this could be a bit more setup for what's to come in the future of Arrow. So I really loved all of this stuff. And obviously there is the rumor going around at the moment that the psychiatrist is actually the demon that Oliver's looking for. Could be true, that does seem very plausible at this point, but I think all the prison stuff with Oliver in this episode was really, really well executed. I really enjoyed it. It showed us a new side of Oliver that we haven't really seen before, and I like that, and it definitely is going to lead into a very interesting episode 5 if you've seen the promo. Now, going back to that new Green Arrow, the new Green Arrow, like I say, does make their next appearance in this episode after appearing in episode 1. We get a few more scenes with them. You get to see them in a couple of action scenes, because this is actually, as far as Arrow goes, this is not a very action-heavy episode, like, in comparison to what we normally get on Arrow. But the only action scenes we really got, there was only really 2, and they both included the new Green Arrow. So seeing them, they actually have a very parkour-heavy element. Like, there was that scene where they just managed to, like, monkey climb up this thing and, you know, going all the way to take out the fire. That was really cool. Again, like, you know, very parkour-heavy, which we've never really seen Oliver do anything like that, so I'm not really going to say that this person was trained by Oliver, meaning that it might not be Roy. Yeah, still could be. I still believe it's going to be a Miko Queen, but yeah, I mean, I've made like quite a lot of videos on the new Green Arrow. But yeah, that was really cool. We got to see their skill set a little bit more, and the way that they're able to get away, thanks to Renee. Obviously, this is going to form even more of a bond. It seems like he has a connection, or they have a connection to Renee in some way, because they've always been there with Renee. Like, they've always been around when he's been there for some reason. I don't quite know why that is, or who this character could be that would have a connection to Renee, but he always seems to have a connection to Renee. So given that he was allowing him to get away, or them to get away, was a smart move. And again, I still don't really have a nailed on prediction as to who this character could be, because although you do get a couple of better looks in this episode at the face, obviously this is going to be a trick. they're not going to be, you know, they're not going to have the actual actor or actress who is the new Green Arrow under that suit. It's going to be a stunt person, so don't look into that too much. Because even though you do get a pretty good look at the eyes in this episode, I don't think that's going to mean anything when we actually get the reveal of who's under that hood. So, like I say, I personally, if I had to choose someone right here, right now, I would say Emiko Queen. If not, it's got to be Roy, but I just feel like, you know, I don't really have a nailed down prediction as to who the new Green Arrow is, but it was definitely awesome to see them back in action in episode 4. Now, what you all came here for, the flash forwards returned in this episode, and oh my good god. This reaction I had to these scenes were very reminiscent of the reactions I had to the episode 1 flash forwards when it was revealed they were flash forwards. So at the end of the last flash forward, which we got in episode 2, it was revealed that William and Roy were going to go back to Star City. So we actually get to see future Star City in this, and we actually get to see them go to Smoke Tech, and it's really interesting because Smoke Tech is completely run down, it's completely destroyed, like the building's just gone. And then this is where we get the reveal that Dinah is still around, and Dinah comes out of nowhere dressed in a slightly different variation on the Black Canary suit with a hood, and she comes out and takes out the security guards that were threatening William and Roy, and she unmasks herself, and they've got the old makeup on Dinah, the grey hair and things. She looks absolutely incredible, and seeing her come out, the only kind of annoying thing about this is that it does kind of confirm that, well, it does confirm that no matter what happens in the history of Arrow, Dinah is never going to die. Dinah survives up until this point. Because obviously, unlike the Flash, this is a definite future. Like, this is going to happen regardless. So Dinah is completely safe, and also so is Renee, because Renee also gets name dropped. So yeah, Dinah and Renee, they're never going to die in Arrow. So that's quite annoying. But still, seeing Dinah in this future was really cool, because we were thinking, you know, will we see future versions of our characters? And this is kind of like the first one we've got now, outside of Roy, obviously, with Dinah, and she looked absolutely badass. She was great, and she was saying how Star City has kind of turned into a bit of a decrepit war zone. Like, she was saying how the Glades, which used to be the most run-down area of the city, is actually becoming a lot more of a risen-up part of the city. Like, the Glades have risen up, and now it's like the most kind of secure place in Star City, and the SCPD now protect the Glades in order to stop people getting in. And I think that was really interesting, given because it was a nice parallel to what we got at the start of the episode, where people were saying, you know, the people in the Glades were saying how the SCPD neglects the Glades. So that was a really nice parallel, and again, this is really exciting. It kind of reminded me of The Dark Knight Rises a little bit, like what happened in that movie. So I really like what they're doing there, and I really loved everything about that. And then the sort of what is, in my opinion, the biggest reveal of this episode, somebody else comes out of the shadows. It's the new Black Canary from the future, Zoe Ramirez. I could not believe my eyes when this happened. So you have this new character come out of nowhere, dressed as the Black Canary. This is another new Black Canary costume. Comes out, and it's Zoe, as in Renee's daughter. And they do kind of set this up earlier on, because Dinah comes out and she gives Zoe like the Black Canary necklace, and I thought, you know, when I saw that scene, I thought, are they setting that up? Are they doing that? Are they going to, like, is this like a tease that, you know, at some point far in the future that she will take up the mantle of the Black Canary? Yes, I was exactly right. I didn't expect it to be paid off that quickly, but I will definitely take it. And I was absolutely screaming. This is a older Zoe, and I thought this was incredible. She actually knows William, like she recognizes William, which does make sense. I guess they would know each other. They've been in protective custody together quite a lot, especially over the last season. So yes, in the future, Zoe Ramirez takes up the mantle of the Black Canary. I couldn't believe that. I thought that was incredible, and I love that moment. And then we get the big sort of reveal of the episode, which, you know, William says, you know, I'm looking for Felicity. I can't find her. Why would she bring me here when she's not here? And Dinah says, oh, I'm sorry to be the one to have to tell you, but Felicity Smoke is dead. So in this future timeline, Felicity is dead. She's killed off. Now, I wouldn't take this so literally. I think Felicity might be alive. I think this is going to be a trick thing where, you know, she wants William and Roy to find her, and that's, you know, why she probably just like faked her own death. Because let's be honest, with her computer skills, she'd be able to do that. She'd be able to like erase herself from existence, similarly to like what Adrian Chase did. Like, she'd be able to do that. So I feel like, yeah, Felicity is still alive. I wouldn't worry about that too much. But yeah, just these flash forwards, man, they're absolutely crazy. They come out of nowhere. They blow you away every single time. I'm just so in love with them, and I can't wait to see more because they're just incredible. So all these flash forwards are great. Overall, I thought Level 2 was a fantastic episode of Arrow. In my opinion, this is the best episode so far of Season 7. I thought it was absolutely incredible. Although it didn't have that much action in it, we did get quite a lot of really good character moments, which I think was actually quite heavily needed. And with that, like I say, some teasers with the new Green Arrow. Laurel was excellent in this episode. And those flash forwards just completely got me even more on the hype train. Like, every time we get a new flash forward, I get more and more excited. I don't know how they keep doing it, but they keep doing it. And like I say, I think this is the best episode of the season thus far. So, thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a like. It will help me out a lot. And share this video with anyone and everyone you know who loves DC TV and get them to join the community. And as always, guys, please subscribe for all of your latest content on Supergirl, The Flash, Legends of Tomorrow, and Arrow. And with all that said, guys, I hope to see you again in my next video.